Grab him by his nutsack.
Oh my. Oh my. Oh my.
Like a Dragon Ishin is an action-adventure game developed by Ryoma Gotoku Studio and published by Sega. The game takes place in 1866 Japan, where you follow Sakamoto Ryoma, who has returned to his hometown of Tosa to reunite with his adopted father and sworn brother. Ryoma's father, Yoshida Toyo, and brother Takeshi seek to end the terrible social system in Tosa and ask for Ryoma's help to aid his cause by joining the Tosa Loyalist Party. Shortly after, the three then meet to discuss plans to negotiate with the ministers. However, a masked assassin appears and kills Toyo and escapes after defeating Ryoma and Takeshi in combat. Having been accused of murdering Toyo, Ryoma escapes captivity, vowing to return to Tosa once he has proved his innocence by hunting down and killing the real culprit to clear his name and to bring justice to his father.
わしの真の考えは誰だ?
Ninja. Ooh.
おやっさん! おやっさん! バカな! くそ! 龍馬! お前はおやっさん頼む!
In my opinion, RGGS doesn't miss when it comes to their stories, and this game is no different. Now, this game isn't a traditional Yakuza game, as it takes character models throughout the entire Yakuza series, from Yakuza 0 to Yakuza Like a Dragon, gives them different names, and puts them in a feudal Japan samurai story. This game is a remake of the 2014 game that was only released in Japan, so this is really everyone else's first introduction to this story and these characters. But what's fun is because games like Yakuza 0, Yakuza 6, and Yakuza Like a Dragon, to name a few, wasn't out in 2014, RGGS went the extra mile and added these characters into the game. Because sometimes it's the little details that matter, especially in a long-standing series like this. In terms of the combat, it is very similar to the combat in the Yakuza games with multiple different styles, but instead of multiple fist-fighting styles like in most of the Yakuza games, in Ishin you can still use the fist-fighting style of course, but you can also have a katana sword, a sword and gun, which they call the wild dancing style in the game, or just a gun. And even though I use the katana majority of the time because I really like being able to parry, there are advantages to using the other styles, such as the evasive ability in the wild dancer style, which is very good and will allow you to quickly spin out of bad situations, but you'll not be able to parry in this style, so the spin dodge will be your friend here. The gun style also allows you to obviously shoot from distance, which helps when taking on the big guys with melee weapons, because getting close to them is not advised as they deal heavy damage. All these styles can be mixed and matched whenever you feel like it, even in the middle of combat if the situation calls for a different style in that moment. I really enjoyed the combat in this game for the most part because the different styles really added something different to the game, and while none of the styles live up to the baseball bat or the breakdancing style Goro had in Yakuza 0, there is still a lot of fun to be had in this game. The combat can admittedly be a little wonky at times since I don't like how the lock-on system works most of the time, which got me stabbed in the back a lot during battle and can really hurt during boss fights. I also don't like how sometimes Ryoma just shoots his gun at nothing, which if you are up against a lot of gun enemies in a firing squad formation, it can get you killed sometimes, and sometimes a lot, if he's just shooting off in random directions. But those are just really small nitpicks, in my opinion, and overall I thought the combat was solid. The weapons I talked about can be upgraded at the blacksmith area, or new weapons and armor can be made at that same blacksmith as long as you get all the material you need to make said items. To get these materials, you can get into fights out in the world as there are many of them to be found out there, or you can dispatch yourself and other soldiers into battle using the card system game that this game implements. A ton of good material can be found in these missions that will greatly increase your chances of being able to make great armor or weapons at the blacksmith. But back to the card game that I talked about before, every card has a different trooper ability and corporal trait that can be used in combat, and as you use a card more and more, that card will level up and become stronger. So these soldiers will not physically be with you on the battlefield, like standing side by side with you, but you can trigger their card that will unleash either an attack, it could add a buff to your weapon, or even heal, which I find very important and would suggest having a heal card in your deck at all times, because you never know when you will need it. These cards are not only used during these missions though, as you can tie cards to each style and use them during story or even boss fights as you see fit. More cards can be found out and about at varying skill levels by fighting people in the world, and sometimes, once you've defeated the enemies, the leader will ask to join your crew. You can also combine multiple cards together and it'll form into one much better card, so that is also an option. So the game really gives you a lot of different options, will give you a lot of cards, a lot of ways to make your cards better, and you can put the cards in your deck and have them be to your vision as you see fit. While there are some differences in this game compared to the Yakuza games, one thing that is still alive and well is the side activities. You can still go to the casino, go fishing, and yes, you can even still sing karaoke. These side activities are a staple of this series and something that I look forward to every time a new Yakuza game drops. Some of the side missions are also pretty funny because as serious as the main story is, there are some off-the-wall side missions such as playing house with a group of kids and trying to take down protesters who try to protest by dancing in the streets. That's not saying there are no serious side missions, because there are, but they tend to lean more into the silly with the side missions in these games, probably just to try to break up the seriousness that is the main story, and I love them for that. You can also pray at multiple shrines throughout the map, and these can be used for storage, but also your shrine back at your home will allow you to upgrade your base, including cooking skills, expanding the garden, and adding items such as a doghouse, amongst other things. The garden can be important as food is used as healing items in these games, and you can make all your healing items for free. Although admittedly, you will get a ton of money throughout the game just fighting enemies and doing side missions, so if you just want to buy all of your healing items or all your food, that's also fine. All in all, while this isn't a main title in the series, I think this game is great. I love the story and the twists and turns it took along the way. And while there were some issues here and there with the combat, I think the positives far outweigh the few negatives that I had with the game, and that is why I am giving Like a Dragon Ishin a 9 out of 10. This really is another great title from RGGS, and like I said at the beginning, the studio just doesn't miss. They continue to push out quality content with quality stories, and I cannot wait for the next main title Like a Dragon game to see where the story goes next with Ichiban and to see what great story will be told. But what did you guys think of Ishin? Do you agree with me or did you feel differently about the spinoff? Let me know in the comment section below. But that is going to do it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.